Where did we stop thinking? At what point did we get to a place and said, now we have suspended common sense, now we are just waking up and going to a rally and giving young people 22,000? If this government wants to help young people, structure it. Take even 100 billion, put it in commercial banks. But you have to be somebody. Ukona kasalon, kakona machine moja ya blow dry. Ni blow dry ama ni asijui, I don't know how it's written. But you have one. You need a second one. And the bank comes and accesses and says, honestly, Sharon, akona kasalon, na kana need to expand. Wanakuwa. But you cannot be a guy who sits at Jabba base and then you're given 22,000 to expand which business? Chewing. Because that's the only business you can expand.
Jabba juice.
It's fine. Go to a bank, tell them I sell Jabba juice. They'll come and assess, they see you have a small machine kanatengeneza 2 liters of Jabba juice per hour, they can expand you, utengeneze 20 liters of Jabba juice. Hata kama ni Moratina unauza, at least we need to see what you're doing. The problem we have here is anybody who comes and applies and they are young and they can dance and they can sing two-term gets 22,000. The problem now, I still come back to watu wa two-term because mimi hata sina shida na president, but they gave up on him. Niko na shida na watu wa two-term. Wewe juu naimba two-term juu jirani yako amepewa 22,000. Are you aware that wewe ndio utalipa hii 22,000? Na ulimuona mahali alipeleka.
Sasa mtu asipige sherehe na 22,000 imekuja Mungu leta.
Tulisema the day we are going to start reintroducing common sense back into the things we do, this country will move forward. Nyota Fund is welcome, but channel it in a manner that shows you are using common sense. We want a baba to come and say, niko na machine mbili za kunyoa, sina sink, na sina hii, na sina hii. Even the Bible says those who have will be given. So that who mwenye ame-expand kinyozi, I employ huyu mtu wa Jabba base amulete hapa. But always toka kwa mtu akona biashara umnyime pesa, uende kwa yule anachu miraa pale umpatie pesa. I thank God I'm from Mount Kenya. The bulk of some of this money has gone to Meru, which is good. Our Meru people are happy. But then what next?
What next? What do you think the other guys are doing right that is not being done in the national space? For example, Kiharu, education right now, 500 bob for all secondary schools, and it's working for them. Dini Nyoro and the team, they're doing something nice. Salasia also said something like that will happen on his end. But can this be replicated to happen throughout the country? Ama, is it not happening? Ama, are they doing PR?
Obinna, Kenyans will forgive me, but I have allowed myself to think differently. Okay. For now, I celebrate Dindi Nyoro for what he has done. But in English, they say, in the land of the blind, the mono-eyed man is king. Or I can repeat that. In the land of the blind, the mono-eyed man is king. So you have a guy with a mono eye, but because wale wengine wote haoni, mnasema this is the king. He's seeing too far. The Ministry of Education this year received 700 billion. The highest allocations that are ever given in this country go to the Ministry of Education. Out of the 700 billion, more than 2.5 or 25 billion, I'll check, goes into expansion of infrastructure. Now take it from me, Kenyans, and look at me and hear me very well. The MP who builds the highest number of classrooms is not the brightest. It's just the mono-eyed man in the land of the blind. Because the question should be, what is his role in parliament? What is the role of my MP KJ? Legislation and oversight. The first question he should be asking the Minister for Education, wait the heaven a minute. This money given to the Ministry of Education for expansion of infrastructure, ni ngapi imekuja kwangu Dagoretti South? Sasa hii ujinga ya mimi kujenga classrooms, nasema NGCDF, Fanya Mambo Kinuthia, build nonsense. The law as it exists, we have enough structures. We have engineers. We have everything that government needs. All we need to do is, again, vote common sense into parliament. So that when I go to parliament, I say, a billion, Kaki Kenyans, a billion is 1,000 millions. You take 1,000, 1,000, 1,000. You know, a million, you arrange 1,000 times. That's a billion. To build one classroom in Kenya is about 1 million shillings. So 1 billion is 1,000 classrooms. So when the Ministry of Education is given 2.5 billion for infrastructure expansion, each billion is 1,000 classrooms. So by the time you're getting to 2.5 billion, you have 25,000 classrooms. Now show me 25,000 classrooms. Kila mpia nakuja kuambia nimejenga na CDF. Why were you building na CDF? Because you failed as a member. And ndio maana nasema CDF itolewe. You have failed as a member of parliament to push this government to use that which has been allocated to your constituency for your people. They come and say nimepeana bursary. Let me tell you, kama watu wa Dagoretti wananichagua nipeane bursary, afadhali hata nisichaguliwe. A monkey can give bursaries. Get a monkey from a tree, train a monkey to queue and dish out checks. You can do that. My friend, I am the first person to have come up with a conversation. Tulikuwa na Jeff Koinange. Nikasema MC yako na bursary. MP yako. That was me. Thank God for Senator Karongo Wathangwa. He took it to Senate in the month of May 2024. I said it in January 2024, January 30th. If anybody has an older video, atuonyeshe. So we go, May, Karongo Wathangwa takes it to Senate. It goes to Senate, they say, oh, we are spending about 80 billion on bursaries in this country and about 44 billion on capitation to school. On the 23rd of August, 2024, the Speaker of the National Assembly, Moses Wetangula, says, wait a minute, can we create a committee to discuss this issue of MCA on a bursary? In fact, he was quoting me word for word. I thank God. Fast forward, 30th of April 2025, yes, the Speaker of the National Assembly creates a committee in Parliament, mpaka leo iko, headed by Junet Mohammed, to discuss Fanya Mambo's idea. How do we make education free in Kenya? We discover we are spending 106 billion in bursaries and we are spending 25 to 45 billion on capitation to schools. Now the conversation is national. I hear it everywhere I go. And what do we want to do? Take common sense to Parliament. Because if I am Fanya Mambo, I don't want to give checks in Dagoretti South. I want to make education free. Nikupatia check, unaniuliza hii check nitapeleka wapi na shule ni free. And the money is there. Explain to me why we are spending 44 billion on capitation to schools and spending 106 billion on bursaries. Kenya is okay. Kenya just needs to remove fools from spaces of leadership. Complete. Yani, unakuja Dagoretti South, unasema nimepeana 5,000 checks. And people clap for you. And I see foolishness. If you go to any bank today, the check processing fee of any check is 120 shillings.
Kidogo tu.
Nikikupea check.
Kidogo tu. Davido, yeah. What's happening? What's the issue?
My political enemies.
Wametumana huku. So you are saying,
you come as an MP, and that's why some of these people need to be removed from, you know, the virtual space, because very many Kenyans are watching them and they are seeing foolishness. Honestly, there's no better word. Umesema nimepeana 5,000 checks to 5,000 parents, so they're happy, they'll take their children to school. What you've done is you've wasted public money, because 5,000 checks, each check, ukienda any bank, the cost of processing a check is 120 shillings. So that if you give him a check of 5,000, atakatwa 120 check processing fee. In a constituency where you've given 5,000 checks, it's 5,000 times 120, 600,000 lost on check processing fees. Multiply that by the 390 constituencies. Then kila MCA siku hizi akona checks anapeana za bursary. You know, by this Sakaja spent 845 million on bursaries for Nairobi. So each MCA alikuwa amepatiwa 2 checks. Long story short, Kenya loses 5 billion every year on check processing fees. How many children can 5 billion educate? At the rate of 22,000 shillings per high school children. So just, Wakenya nisaidie. Sitawafanyia kila kitu. Take 5 billion. 5, add 9 zeros. Divide by 22,000. That money can educate that number of children. But what have we done? We've spent it on check processing fees. Jumhesha alitupanga line akatupea checks. So what I am saying is that sometimes I may not even be able to go and specifically deliver to the person in Dagoretti South. But if I come at the national level, make education free. If I come and say this NGCDF is repeating what should have happened at the ministry level, if we put our resources in a way that makes us appear like we're using common sense, Kenya will be a great country for everybody.
So the decisions that are made in parliament triples over to the constituency level and every Kenyan experience.
Yes.
Do you think our CS, our PS for education is doing his job right? Because we had the Kimani Chungwa said that we have the most clueless education. Then also we've been seeing what has been happening. For example, the struggles with enrolling of students. There's this issue for someone gets an A, is enrolled in some school in Kisii, Amasji, where imeleta sana a lot of issue, and the school placing. Some in the schools that people did not select. Yani there's so much confusion. There's a confusion between transition into CBC. Now CBC mefanya nini. Now high school is no longer high school. Now it's junior. Now there's JSS. Now there is senior. There is all of this. Do you think our education system from the CS all the way down, they know what they're doing?
It starts at the level of the presidency. And allow me to explain myself.
Okay.
Kenyans, chukueni simu zenyu. Unajua mimi napenda. Unaweza ambia kitu mfikirie fanya mambo is mad.
Okay.
I want you to Google what happened to the Stadia that were built in Qatar and Dubai during the World Cup. Now you found the answer. They were destroyed.
Ah.
The bulk of them were brought down. Nyinyi na anyway, sitawatukana. You are building a stadium called Talanta.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the world that uses common sense, that thing that exists between this year and this year, is trying to bring down Stadia. Because no country ever developed by building stadium.
Okay.
Now, let me explain what is the relationship between Talanta Stadium and our system of education. Turudi kwa ile hesabu. Talanta Stadium is 45 billion. Now, we said a billion is 1,000 millions. So 45 billion is 1,000 times 45. So it's 1,000 millions. Is 1,000 millions is 45. Okay, just look at this. 1 billion will build for you, each million is a class. So by the time you are doing a billion, you have 1,000 classes. So by the time you are doing 45 billion, you have 45,000 classrooms. Okay? A standard classroom takes 40 students, right?
Okay.
Inajua za gava ziko crowded, 50, 60, let's just say 40. So if you have 40 students in a class, and the first 1,000 gave you 1,000 classrooms, the first billion, it means by the time you're done with a billion, how many children are being put in class? 40,000. By the time you're done with 45 billion, you've put in 1.8 million children into comfortable classrooms, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you can put in 1.8 million into a classroom, the only time a classroom is not in use is in the month of April, watoto wakienda holiday, in the month of August, watoto wakienda holiday, and November, December. You are guaranteed that for at least 265 days in a year, your 45 billion is working and 1.8 million children are benefiting. Contrast that with this moribund thing called a stadium. 60,000 capacity. Tell me if anybody can, whether Kasarani has hosted 100 events in 1 year. So 60,000 people, then if you host 100 events, what is that? Na unaweka 45 billion. So Kenya is not poor. Musianze kusema ati we are having challenges. We are having mental challenges. Because instead of building a stadium for 45 billion, we should have built classrooms for 1.8 million children. And because usidanganywa ati wanasema ati kuna challenge. System haina challenge. We don't have enough infrastructure.
But you know, not everybody is going to go to school. So think of it that way.
This
also
is the thing.
People who are also talented differently.
We said that basic education is compulsory. Now, basic education in mpaka form 4. We don't care whether you're a footballer. Go. I mean, there's nothing as ugly as having a guy who is so talented in football. Then he goes and wins a match abroad. And then he's brought a camera and he can't say anything.
We want you, in the Chebarbar,
we want you to be a footballer
in the coming,
who can express yourself. And we want you to be a footballer who can read a contract presented to you. We are just protecting you from yourself. Tukikwambia ufike form 4, we don't hate you and we don't disrespect. We're just saying, hata kama just learn how to read, how to write, and how to count your money until form 4. Then become the best footballer or the best rugby player or the best basketball player, but at least get to form 4. So Kenya, hiyo system ya education, there was no problem with the online system. The system was confused because there was less infrastructure and very many young people who needed the infrastructure. Our money for infrastructure went to build a stadium. Imewekwa maflag za Kenya mingi sana kubwa huko. But that stadium is not going to have 100 events in a year. And it's never going to have 60,000 capacity through all those events. In short, we misappropriated our money as a country. Is CS Ogamba clueless? Completely and totally. I'll tell you why.